And in a very short amount of time, I had made a tremendous amount of money. I was a millionaire at 26. And because I didn't have good money role models, because I did not have people to kind of guide me along the way, I did what any other kid would do.
What's up, guys? Visionary CJ here, and we have reached our season finale of season 1. If you can't tell, I'm super excited about this. I've learned over time that you have to celebrate your small wins, and this is definitely one of those for me. What started out as just a random idea has grown into a platform where I can bring on influential people and inspire students from all around. And so to celebrate, I'm hosting a live podcast recording / networking event at Oxwork Business Club in East Atlanta Village. That's Oxwork, OXWORK Business Club. You can just Google that and you'll find that address. And so if you're in the Atlanta area, please come by. It'll be Thursday, May 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. I'll post more about it on my social media. So please make sure you're following me on all platforms at Visionary CJ, and CJ is spelled C-E-E-J. And so I've said this before, but I seriously feel like this upcoming interview is the absolute perfect way to end season 1. I interviewed Jay Bailey, who's the president and CEO of the Russell Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And he's just an all-around amazing human being. So I hope you guys enjoy the interview and get ready to grow. Let's get it.
Welcome to Your Visionary Podcast. This podcast is specifically for you and your vision. Get ready to grow. Let's go.
Life is in the detour, you know? So every detour we experience, that's an opportunity to learn something.
You sell yourself. Doesn't matter if you're selling ice in Alaska or if you're selling sugarcane in Haiti. They're going to buy from you.
Man, all of this knowledge is in captivity when it should be out in the world. He couldn't believe that I had 25 years, but the way I carried myself, you'd have thought I had 25 days left.
We try to be something so great, and we forget that we're just being humans. We're human beings, you know? And it's like, we're enough right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Your Visionary Podcast. Today we have a special episode. We have the president of the Russell Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. We have Mr. Jay Bailey. How you doing, brother?
Hey, family, what's going on? So glad to be up here in Marietta, Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Indeed. Hard to get me outside of the perimeter, but you must be special.
I appreciate you really taking the time to come down here and share your time with my listeners and me. You know, it's always an honor, to be able to talk to you. And so it's so much I want to get into today, but we start this off by asking, what's your purpose statement?
A purpose statement. It's kind of a statement that I've I guess, become known for. Build as we climb. I'm a firm believer, brother, that we've got to create pathways for those that come behind us, become the kind of role models that become roadmaps for those generations unborn. You have to plant seeds that will grow trees whose shade you may never sit under. And if we build the infrastructure, if we build the staircase to get over the walls that we had to face, we've done something that can affect generations yet unborn.
Wow, that's so powerful. And so can you just give my listeners a quick description of who H.J. Russell is? Because I tell a lot of my friends about, H.J. Russell, the Russell Center, and they're just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, man, I need to get you the book. First, I need you to send you the book, Building Atlanta. Have you read it yet?
Building a Ladder?
Building Atlanta.
Oh, Building Atlanta. Never
so it's the story of H.J. Russell, and I'm going to send that to you. Make sure you get me an address where I can send it to. And for your listeners, if you want a good read on a powerful entrepreneurial story and overcoming all adversity, Building Atlanta is one of the best books that I've ever read. Wow. H.J. Russell, this amazing brother, this amazing visionary, started his first business at 12, opened up a shoe shine stand in the Jim Crow South, walked down to City Hall as a young 12-year-old kid, was called names, laughed out of City Hall, but it gave him the kind of resolve to change history. Started a shoe shine stand, built his first income-producing property at 16, graduated from Tuskegee, and then commenced to making history in the city of Atlanta. Wow. This is the brother that built half of the skyline. This brother had properties throughout the city. The civil rights movement, he underwrote the civil rights movement. Some of the first checks that were ever cut to make sure that the civil rights movement got moving were from H.J. Russell. When 100 students got locked up from the student movement, they made one phone call, H.J. Russell. This is the place where this brother had a pool inside his house in the 40s and 50s, where a young Dr. Martin Luther King and Ambassador Andrew Young and Ralph David Abernathy and their 20-somethings used to go sit at his feet and get mentored and wonder how they could change the world. Wow. Or they could go swimming at his house. Wow. When Atlanta was highly segregated and there was certainly racial tension, when they wouldn't allow black people to live throughout the city, he and 7 other families bought a cattle farm and created their own neighborhood. Collier Heights, to support, the black business class and the middle class and the affluent class. They did it on their own. Wow. This brother integrated the Chamber of Commerce in Atlanta. The first black member created a pathway for black people to do business in the city of Atlanta. Wow. Just an incredible story, an incredible testament of 60 Seconds run. And it's hard to really even encapsulate all that he really did as far as impact. And I am overly humbled, brother, by the opportunity to be a part of carrying his legacy forward. Yeah,
that's so powerful, and I think it's really important just for my generation and the ones behind me to really be knowledgeable about the ones that came before us. Especially someone as powerful as an entrepreneur as Mr. H.J. Russell. Yes, and so talk to me a little bit about the Russell Center and that project, because I know it's a huge project.
Oh, man.
It's something that's going to change the dynamic of the city. Is powerful.
I'm looking forward to it, brother. We have a little over 50,000 square feet. The largest center in America dedicated to African-American entrepreneurs and small business owners. This becomes the epicenter of the conversation around economics and scale. If I have it my way, this is going to be our university, our HBCU, if you will, for economic mobility. I think in the African-American community, in the black community, the narrative has always been carried by preachers, teachers, politicians, athletes, and entertainers. We've never really had the institution that focused on business, economic, scale, growth, small business. We become that. We become a symbol of hope. We become, this building is even more than what we'll teach on the inside of it. It's truly a beacon for the community outside of those walls. And I want to live at the nexus point of access, opportunity, and exposure. I think those are the 3 pillars that keep communities separated from success. Access, opportunity, exposure, and in every way, this center has got to deliver on those promises to community. It's going to be something amazing, brother. I know I can share the renderings of what we're building, but we're in full-blown construction mode right now. I'm not waiting until construction's done to get the magic started. So on May 1st, we'll welcome our founding 100 entrepreneurs. Wow. If any of your listeners are entrepreneurs and are interested in membership, go to rcie.org. But I want to create this amazing collaborative community of innovators and doers, like this buzzing energy, because part of it is, man, it's hard to aspire to what you've never been inspired by. So this place will be part co-working space, similar to this space here, where we'll have podcast labs and places to work and hot desk and dedicated desk. We'll be part incubator, accelerator, of course, giving people the tools, the access, the knowledge, the mentorship, the curriculum, the relationships in place to grow and scale their businesses. This place is also going to be part museum. Because it's our obligation to tell the stories, to tell the history, to tell the stories like Mr. H.J. Russell's, to tell the story of Alonzo Herndon, to tell the story of Reginald Lewis, to tell the story of people like you. You have an incredible story, but people need to hear it. People need to be inspired by your walk and how you've been entrepreneurial in every way. Where are we learning? Where are we getting these examples? I'm a firm believer, brother, that God equally distributes brilliance, talent, and genius. He puts it everywhere. So how can we possibly reconcile then on the north side of town in Buckhead, kids want to be doctors, lawyers, accountants, consultants, run businesses. And on the south side over on Bankhead, kids want to be rappers, athletes, and dope dealers. Back to those 3 pillars of access, opportunity, and exposure. And I want to triple down on that and provide a whole new pathway to a people that just have not had them before.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm a strong believer of being in a growth environment.
Sure.
That's one of the reasons I think the people on the south side do want to be, rappers, trappers, because that's their environment, whether it's what they see or what they listen to. Those are both gateways to our mind, and I think that's so real. Yeah. And so I love that story of just H.J. Russell and, the Russell Center, and I'm excited for it as well.
My man, you're always welcome.
I appreciate it. Yeah. But now I want to get into your story.
Sure.
And so take us back. take us back to the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey.
Wow.
Yeah, take us through, your upbringing.
And you've heard this a couple times.
Yeah, I have.
But it's real, man. When you start talking about environment and exposure, as I've shared with you before, brother, I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. I didn't know what ownership was. But I knew I was a young kid with a whole lot of hustle and enterprising. I used to make popsicles in the ice trays and sell them for a dime out of my driveway. I remember one time I charged people 50 cents to fight in my backyard so they wouldn't get caught in the front. I had all of this grind and this hustle, but really didn't have a name for it. It was just natural. One day I riding my bike to the barbershop, and when I was growing up, I was a kid, born in the 70s, raised in the 80s. You could have put a Bentley next to a Ferrari, next to a Bugatti, and I would have taken a Mustang GT every day of the week. And literally parked illegally in front of my barbershop was a black-on-black convertible Mustang GT, and I lost my mind. Threw my bike down on Candler Road, an area of town where you don't leave anything unlocked, ran into the barbershop and screamed out, "Whose car is that?" And my barber was cutting somebody's hair, and he just kind of gave me the nod. And immediately, because of my environment, because of where I was from, I thought he was a drug dealer. Like, how can you possibly afford that car if I only pay you $5 to cut my hair? I'm only 11 years old at this point. But I hopped in his chair, and as a matter of fact, as I'm asking about the weather, this brother, I asked him, John, I didn't know you were a dope boy. And he screams at me, use the big curse word I won't use on your show, brother. I'll respect you in that way. He curses at me, but he tells me to turn around and count how many chairs you see in this shop. I said 10. He says, well, each one of these barbers pays me $50 a week to cut hair at my shop. Do the math, Jay. You're smart. So I start adding it up. Next thing you know, he says, hold on, before you finish, boy, I got 2 more shops just like this. Finish the math. So when Lil J Bailey was like 000, comma, 0, he said it. He said, boy, I'm an entrepreneur. I own this business. I own all my businesses. And what you need to do is go find you something you love and go make some money doing it. Nobody had ever told me about ownership. Certainly nobody had ever put a name to what I just kind of felt naturally, entrepreneur. I knew who I was and what I was.
Yeah.
My bike ride home fundamentally changed my life because I started to see everything different. I was like this peak curiosity around, okay, well, who owns the local tire shop? Well, who owns McDonald's? Who owns a public library? Mom, Dad, do we own our house? We do? Self-esteem, self-confidence goes up. We own this. Don't walk through my grass. This is our grass.
Yeah.
That one moment, in that one moment, where, one of these days I want to go back and find this barber, if he's still alive, and thank him. Because that one moment of exposure and just one comment fundamentally changed my trajectory for the rest of my life. Started my first business at 12. I was a horrible student. I was branded gifted in kindergarten, hated school, treated school like construction work. 3 o'clock, here's the bell, here's my lunch pail, I'm done. Don't bother me till tomorrow. But I love car stereo equipment. I used to hang out at all the local flea markets and the stereo stores. There was a Circuit City on Memorial Drive. I used to go up there and hang out and just learn, sweep around the floor, ask questions, taught myself how to install car stereo equipment, and created my first company, the House of Boom, at 12. Where I was installing car stereo equipment on the side of my house and making real money, sometimes $300, sometimes $1,000 a month, But the knock-on effect of that, while I was learning ohms and wattage and electric current and how to measure a cubic foot of airspace to build an enclosure for a 12-inch woofer, today that'd be called STEM education. And so what happened, because I was so into my business and the skills needed to be good at my business, sorry about that.
That's all good.
But what happened was that my aspiration to be successful in business met my need for education. School became relevant, and I took off. AP Physics, AP Calculus. Yep. I was in school not because my teacher said I needed to be there, not because my parents thought I needed to be there. I was in school because I was trying to learn everything they had to teach me so I could be good at my business. Those classes actually bumped my GPA up just enough to qualify to go to college. So I owe entrepreneurship, my college journey to entrepreneurship as well, brother. Yeah. And from then on, I don't know how deep you want to go into the story, brother, but from then on, there was this love affair with controlling your own destiny and kind of making your own way and charting your own path. Yeah. And there is no other feeling like being in control of your destiny and seeing knowing that at the end of the day, everything that you have is because you put everything into it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one thing I've said on this show many times is that everybody's the CEO of themselves.
Yes, sir.
And so even if you don't consider yourself a business person, you're still the CEO of yourself. You control your thoughts and your actions,
Right.
Your reactions, at the same time. But I kind of want to get into your college journey because most of my listeners are college students.
Sure.
And they're interested in entrepreneurship, but they don't really know, how to take the first step, how to take the second step, and just the whole journey. So can you talk about that a little bit?
You'll never get it all perfect. One piece of advice is don't let the perfect be the death of the good. Get started, if I could do college all over again, I've never worked another day in my life. If I really understood for the first time in my life, and I think the first time I met you, I started to share this kind of thing. How many students are at Kennesaw State?
35,000, yeah.
So you have a market of 35,000 potential consumers.
Right.
That you have the competitive advantage over everybody else on knowing what they like, what they don't have, what they need, what they like to do, where they like to party, what they like to drink. You got all of that data.
Yeah.
And we do nothing with it if you're an entrepreneur. You got so much competitive advantage if you just step out there. My college experience, man, I didn't really have like role models to kind of guide me down an entrepreneurial journey. I kind of figured it all out myself. I had an atypical kind of college experience. I used to do things like I was still installing car stereo equipment. Every once in a while I'd throw a party or two. I had a really atypical college experience because unfortunately at the end of my sophomore year, I lost my mother.
Oh.
My father and I had a tremendous falling out, so we went separate ways. So here I am, young, entrepreneurial, college student, really reeling and hurting and probably bordering depression from losing my mother. But I got to make it on my own.
Yeah.
True story, man, when you talk about entrepreneurship and just making it work. October rolled around. My mother passed in June. I was back in school that fall semester. October rolled around. And it dawned on me that for the first time in my life, I didn't have a home to go home to for Christmas. So what's a young, stupid, entrepreneurial college student who's trying to be the big man on campus do? I bought a house. Wow. And literally, I walked into a bank, asked the teller how many houses she had for sale because I knew nothing about buying a house, but I knew that I had just pledged Alpha. And I could buy a 4-bedroom house and I could rent out 3 of those bedrooms, and that would pay for the rent. I didn't even know what a mortgage was. Turns out, for your listeners, man, I don't know if they watch Power or not. One of those guys was Omari Hardwick, the star of Power's, Ghost. He's my line brother, one of my closest friends. And, but yeah, man, I bought a house. And because I was being entrepreneurial, I figured out a way to make it happen. Like, there's nothing outside of the grasp of your listeners and their age right now. I think we start to believe because of our environment, because of our societal, context, because of what our parents tell us, the other things that are kind of forced upon us, you're probably going to be your sharpest right now. You're probably sharper now than you're ever going to be for the rest of your life, as far as mental capacity and sharpness, just being able to see the whole field.
Yeah.
You may not have the experience, but you absolutely have the grit, the energy, and the know-how. So, man, it's getting started, finding your thing, whatever it is. And I'm a big believer in, like, own your street, then own your block, then own your city, then own your state. Start where you are. If you're in a dorm right now, and you got 10 people on that dorm floor, and you make cakes good or whatever else you do, or you cut hair or whatever else it is, if you can't sell it to the people on your floor, maybe you're not ready to scale. If you got something that everybody on your floor will buy, I guarantee the other 6 floors in the building, they'll buy it. And I guarantee in all the other dorms, those same people will buy it. I guarantee them the students around the campus, if you're saying that many people like it, there's a good chance that that's your use case analysis. That's your case study of how you can scale. And I love the story of Facebook. Facebook's one of those stories that made it real. He started at Harvard because he understood the Harvard student base. Then it spread and went only to Ivy League colleges because he knew that consumer base better than anything else because he was an Ivy League student.
Wow.
But those Ivy League students, then it boiled over to college students because there was one point where Facebook was only eligible if you had a college EDU email address. But what happens with college students eventually after 4 or 5 years? They graduate. They become working people, but they still are connected to this social network. So they then began to spread out into the professional world.
Yep.
beautiful illustration of where you started with the problem, and his problem he wasn't trying to change the world. He just wanted a platform where he could make it a little bit easier to interact with girls.
Yep. Yeah.
And from that became this Facebook dynasty that is weaved into our daily culture, our minute-by-minute culture.
Yeah, literally.
Solving a problem, understanding your market, and growing your market from your base.
That's it. So you had a lot going on while you were in college. You know, you had your house, you had the president of fraternity, and you had school. So what did balancing all of that look like?
I didn't do it well.
Yeah.
I took a victory lap, so I was there for 5 years because of some bad decisions, of course. But man, it's I think we were sharing off air just a little bit. Some of the best advice I ever got was from a mentor, Ambassador Andrew Young. And he shared with me, boy, you better make your friends before you need them. And I'm a huge proponent of, man, that relationships are the most powerful thing in the world.
Yeah.
And it's not about who you know or what you know. It's about how people know you. And while your listeners are in college, you got to think about it. These are the people that you're going to love for the rest of your life. I was sharing that of 14 men that were in my wedding, easily 10 of them had to be folks that I went to college with.
Oh.
And this was 20 years ago, right? Authentic relationships that are built before you actually need something from someone. Investing in people that you know are not going to stand still. You know those people when you're walking around campus that they're going to do something with their life. They're not going to be in the same place they are right now 10 years from now. Invest in them now where you don't need anything from them. It's an authentic relationship, and more powerful people that you'll meet, people of importance, celebrities, whoever else it is, the thing that they crave most is authenticity. Real people that they can talk to who really know who they are rather than what the public's perception of them is. It's a lie when people tell you it's business. It's not personal. Business is all personal. And you do business with people. I've never seen a building on Peachtree Street uproot, walk across the street, and close a deal with another building. Everything about the human being that you're dealing with when you're sitting across from them, if they had a bad day, if their wife cheated on them, or the dog got hit by a car, their kid is sick and they got no sleep, it's going to affect the way that they look at their day. And when you start to look at business from the personal lens, doing business with human beings, if you start getting to the heart of who they are, that's when you start to get really, really, really good at building relationships in business that will take you further. You've seen me interact with your mentor, Mike.
Yeah.
And before I knew that he was a boss millionaire, we were just Mike and Jay until I learned. And then by that time, we had developed an authentic enough relationship where me and Mike, I'm good. If I ever need Mike for anything, he knows I can call him. And if he needs anything from me, he doesn't even have to hesitate. That's how business is done at the highest of levels as well.
That's real. And so for the student who's against going to college, they think that they won't learn anything valuable. They think they can be successful without it. What kind of advice would you give them to encourage the college path, if you would?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never be one of those to say you don't need to go to college. There's so many things that are intangible that happen outside the classroom that you can't put into a syllabus. You can't put into a course doctrine. Never again will you have this type of concentrated capacity to grow and develop close relationships. Because when you're a 19-year-old kid and out there in the working world, you don't get to do this. You don't get to build with other people. You don't get to go hang out at the club and meet this guy and actually start doing podcasts together. You're grinding. And nobody cares. Once you leave these walls, it's cold, brother. And people don't get that. So sure, is there an opportunity to go make money? Is there an opportunity to be successful without going to college? Absolutely. I'll never dispute that there are people that have done great things and they didn't have a college degree. But I'll never, ever, ever say that the value of a college education has nothing to do with the sheepskin that you frame and put on the wall. The value is really around those things that have nothing to do with your syllabus, that have nothing to do with the academics, the things that make an institution, a university powerful. Let's take a Harvard or a Kennesaw State, doesn't matter. Harvard, somebody says they went to Harvard, they never tell you what class they took third year, second semester. No, I went to Harvard, and the institution carries the weight of the reputation, the alumni base, the storied history. And that's where you really build into a network that you really can't build on your own. there's so much more value in the people that you meet along the way. And with a college experience, you get to meet some of the most dynamic people that you may never have crashed into on your own.
All right.
Yeah, man, I'm just a relationship junkie. And I believe it.
I appreciate that. And so, talk about your first big success after college. What was your?
Oh, it was a success and failure at the same time, man.
Talk about
it's
that.
I left college, and quite honestly, because of where I was from, South DeKalb County, Decatur, one time for the deck. In my circle of influence, man, nobody ever really talked about black people making more than $50,000 a year. The highest position somebody could get that people would talk about is just being a supervisor. And so when I graduated University of Georgia, my first job out of college was with Hershey Foods Corporation, making $48,500, and I thought I was balling. I moved to Richmond, Virginia, did well for 2 years, but I decided to move back to Atlanta because my grandparents had gotten ill and I needed to be back in the A. Came back, worked for a consulting company. I got recruited over into banking. And while I was doing banking, the real estate market in Atlanta had exploded. And I had customers and clients bring me checks for $100,000, $200,000, $50,000 every other week, every other month. And just like a kid in the hood that sees a dude with a flashy car and the chains, he just asks, "What do you do?" And so I asked, "What do you do?" Because remember, I'm young, I'm stupid, I'm entrepreneurial, and I'm essentially on my own, right? Making my own decisions. So I was living under my own roof since 18 years old. So here I am asking these questions and shit. I can't say that on the show. I wasn't making $100,000 a year at that time. Are you saying you just bringing me a check on the humbug for $100K? So what do you do? Real estate investment. What's that? I got enough knowledge about real estate investment to the point where I left Bank of America, started my own real estate company, started a little auto brokerage, and in a very short amount of time, I had made a tremendous amount of money. I was a millionaire at 26. And because I didn't have good money role models, because I did not have people to kind of guide me along the way, I did what any other kid would do. If I was young, stupid, entrepreneurial, with a little bit of money in my pocket, my role models came from TV. I was going to be a baller. So I went to the clubs, I bought the cars, I bought the houses. It's a true story, man. I used to watch the show MTV Cribs. I was living in a condo downtown, and I saw Usher had a house in this neighborhood called Country Club of the South. I later found out Bobby and Whitney had a house there, and L.A. Reid and a couple other celebrities. So I figured ballers lived there. That's where I needed to live. I took my Mercedes S500, big body Benz, went to the old bank that I used to work with, got a $100,000 cashier's check, drove my Mercedes up to Country Club of the South, bribed the guard $100 to go through the gate, found a house on Old Southwick Pass up on a hill, called a real estate agent, told her that we were sitting there with a $100,000 cashier's check. We could close in 2 weeks. We bought this house, 10,000 square feet, and we lived that life. But, part of my journey too, brother, while there was the money attached to it, the money became a crutch for me. The story that's not told is like I told you about losing my mom in 96 while I was a sophomore in college. But almost every year from 96 to 2006, I was losing and burying somebody I held very dear. From my grandparents to all of my grandparents, 3 grandparents I lost. My college sweetheart even died of cancer.
Wow.
A cousin got shot in the face to gun violence. There were just a number of different things that were just happening. An aunt that I was very close to. And so, but when you have a big house and a nice car, everybody assumes your life is perfect. So money became my crutch. The way that I coped with my pain was just spending more money, throwing the parties, blowing the money fast in clubs. There are a number of clubs that I left quite a bit of money in. That was just a bad decision. But the thing is, brother, when the market changed and the bottom fell out of the market, I lost everything. I went from living in a 10,000 square foot house to sleeping in a 9x9 storage unit on Mountain Industrial Boulevard in Tucker, Georgia.
Wow.
I was so messed up then, brother, there was a LA Fitness on La Vista Road, maybe about a mile away from the storage unit. And I had just enough money to pay for a monthly membership of $9 a month so I could go up there and take showers. So here I am, you remember, young, stupid, entrepreneurial, on my own, sleeping in a storage unit because I was too proud to tell my dad that I needed a place to stay. Our relationship was that severed that I couldn't bear him telling me I told you so.
Wow.
And so, yeah, man, but my great epiphany, my great shift occurred when I was thumbing through a photo album. And I saw all these pictures of random kids and pictures with my family. Because here I am literally in a 9x9, smaller than this room we're in right now.
Yeah.
All my stuff stacked up to the ceiling, pull string light bulb, and a cot. And I'm thumbing through a photo album. I'm seeing all these random kids. They're not my cousins or people that I grew up with, none of my friends that I grew up with. And there was a memory that hit me like a brick. Because when you're depressed, you throw out a lot of the bad memories, but you also throw out a lot of the good. Mm-hmm. And my mother, when she lived, she worked for the juvenile justice system. And she knew then, like I live by now, you take a kid in a bad environment, no role models, no exposure, and compounded hopelessness for 10 or 15 years. Why are you surprised he's got a gun to your head? If he doesn't value his life, how could he possibly value your life? So she used to just bend the law a little bit and take these kids out of halfway houses, out of lockup, out of detention centers, bring them with us to Thanksgiving dinner, bring them with us to Christmas dinner. Put them around a table full of folks loving on each other and joning and playing cards and drinking and passing collard greens. And every year, every single year, she would always pull this trick. She'd be like, Christian, grab that box over there behind that tree. And Christian go and grab that box. And as soon as he pick it up, it'd say Christian in big letters across the front.
Wow.
And it wouldn't be a throwaway gift. Because, most of the times, one of the most depressing things that you can see is during Christmas time. Look at a Toys for Tots bucket. And look at those of us with the means to do more. Look at the toys that we try to give kids that have less. Why would a 14-year-old kid want a stuffed banana or a Hot Wheels car? We just, it's better than what they have, right? My mom used to make sure that although we didn't have a lot of money, she used to save her money. In fact, making me make my Christmas list in August so she could save up the money to get Christian what he would really want at Christmas time. I remember arguments that we would have when a kid that we had brought to Christmas got the gift that I really wanted. And she would talk to me about service and doing for other people. As soon as I started to hear that and those memories started rushing back, this was the way that I was raised, to give back. And by the world standards with the cars and the clothes and everything else, I was successful. If you want to count up the numbers and count the commas, I was successful. But I had zero significance. And I had done nothing to change this world. I had done nothing to put a dent in this world. I had done nothing to make somebody's life better. How could I spend $10,000 in a strip club and there's not a scholarship in my mom's name somewhere? So on that road to significance, brother, everything started to change. So one of my greatest economic or financial successes eventually led me down the road to one of my greatest and darkest periods of my life. But it put me on a trajectory to absolutely be transformational and transformative for communities, because from that moment when I committed myself to being significant, everything took off from there.
Wow, that's real. And then one thing you said stuck out to me is service. And I heard earlier in your story when you said you were a kid and you went to go to just sweep around at the flea market. Mm-hmm. It started with service and it eventually led to you starting your own business. Can you talk about how important service is in your journey, your entrepreneurial journey, or just your journey in life?
It's everything, man. In committing my life to being significant, it's all about service. You can't really understand what success is, what greatness is. You will never really understand what living a full life is if you're not able to serve. If you're not deserving of leadership, if you can't be a servant. And I think that when we start to think about what we can do for others, we start to shift the dynamic of our world. Service has always, as I said, when I was a kid, service was always a part of my upbringing. When I found myself getting away from a servant's mind throughout college, even Alpha's motto is, first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. It was built into my DNA. When I got away from that, that's when the problems really started. When I got back to it, that's when life started to change. It's the rent that we pay to be on this planet. And we've got to know that there is something beyond our skin. We've got to know that there are those things that we have to focus on that are outside of just what affects us. And we've always got to think about ways that we can continue to give back. because I don't care who you are. Everybody that you know of any success had somebody that made a sacrifice for them. I don't believe in the notion of self-made man. Why? Because everybody has had somebody that was an example, a role model, somebody that gave them a hand up or a hand out, somebody that gave them a push on the swing. It happens for every single one of us, and none of us got to anywhere where we are by ourselves.
Yeah, that's real. And speaking of role models, who would you say are some of the best examples of positive role models in today's age? Like, say, if one of my listeners is looking for someone that they, is setting a good example, or looking for someone they should look up to, if that makes sense, who would you recommend, or who do you think is like a living example of that?
I think regular people make much better role models.
Really?
A lot of times we look at celebrities and, gurus and CEOs and that kind of thing. Like I told you, my life was fundamentally changed by my barber in the first chair at the Candler Plaza barbershop.
All right.
He was nobody's celebrity. He was nobody's super gazillionaire. He was just a guy that understood the community that I was from and shared a little bit about the experience that he had gone through. And in just a couple of sentences, he fundamentally changed my life forever. I think we start to look for heroes that will come down from the sky. And we need to look at the heroes that are standing right in front of us. When you start thinking about, like, if I want to be a doctor, right? I just pull up the phone book and maybe I Google African-American men pediatricians in Atlanta. And Google's going to spit me back probably 50 to 1,000 doctors that look like me are doing exactly what I want to do. With modern technology, either I stalk them on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or I just pick up the phone and I call them. I say, hey, I'm Jay Bailey. I'm a sophomore at Kennesaw State University. I want to be a doctor, but I've never met a doctor. I don't really know any doctors. And sir, I just Googled your name, and I'd like to just come by and talk to you about what's possible or how you did it. How many people you think would be asshole enough to say no?
Not a lot.
And what if you did that with 10 individuals? And then you created 10 mentors that are truly vested in your success. Mike Russell's nobody's celebrity.
Yeah.
But he made an investment in you. And he carries you everywhere he goes and can't stop talking about you. My thing is, man, he's a regular guy that did some extraordinary things, but at the heart of it, he's really where the needle's going to move for you.
Yeah, and that the journey with me and Mike kind of went how you just said. He came and spoke in my class, and he was talking about how he's a millionaire entrepreneur, and I just went up to him and said, hey, I've never met a millionaire entrepreneur before. Can you be my mentor?
Yep.
Literally. And he was just like, yeah, sure. He gave me his card, and then from there, it is what it is now, and that's one of my closest friends, and it's crazy how that happens, and just how action trumps everything. I feel like
it's execution is everything. And I tell college students that there's a tip that I learned in college. The thing that got me through was back to that relationship piece. Think about people in psychology and everything that you do. For any professor that has a DR in front of their name or a PhD behind it, right? You got to think about what that took. At some point, they were a kid that had a dream and an aspiration. They put themselves through undergraduate, probably got a master's degree, went on to get a PhD, and they committed themselves to being a teacher. Waking up every day to teach a syllabus to a group of maybe 30, 40, 50, 100 people in a class, most of which are falling asleep, not paying attention on their phones, or just absolutely disrespect the thing that they've given their life to.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. I've dedicated my entire life to the students that I teach. And on almost every case, the thing that I've given my life to, when I look out into the crowd, most of them don't even give a damn.
Wow.
But what if you were that one student, when the class was dismissed and everybody ran out of there, had their headphones on, could care less? You walked down to that teacher and said, Dr. Smith, thank you so much for today. My name's Jay Bailey, and I'm not the best student in the world, but I want to be successful. I got dreams, I got ambitions, and I know to be successful, I probably need to pass your class, and I'm going to need your help doing it. And you seem like a great professor, and maybe other folks don't listen, but I just want to make sure that if I need help, or would you be willing to help me out, because I want to do well.
Wow.
It's what I did all through college, because I was a horrible student, but I had great relationships with my professors. The kind of relationships where you don't want just people that cheer for you. You want the kind of people that will not allow you to fail.
Right.
Applause is easy. Hitting the like button is easy. Hitting the love button is easy. But what about those people that are so invested in you, they will not allow you to fail? You got to start building those kind of relationships and really start looking at the heart of people. It worked for my professors because they were not going to accept subpar from me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it works for my professors too. I make that. I'm super intentional about that. Just making sure I do build a relationship with every professor I have, because I'm not the best student either.
Right.
It's just not a thing for me. But it works. Relationships,
brother, it's real.
It's super real. And so as we get to the end of this, man, I want to ask you, if you could give advice to your 21-year-old self, what would that be and why?
Wow, my 21-year-old self.
21-year-old self.
I am one that believes everything happens for a reason, and all of the pitfalls, the toils, the snares, the brokenheartedness, the hard times that I went through made me a better person than who I am today. But I think if I was going back to my 21-year-old self, I think I give the very same advice that I've given you guys today, to be very intentional about the people you meet along the way. How you treat them, how you keep them, how you follow up, how you develop the depth of your relationship. Nobody told me about relationships mattering. Like, really, during the time I was growing up, man, you were just trying to have the most girls and everything else didn't matter. There's a deeper richness that I could have put some time with. And, when the things that matter most will always be the things that matter most. And don't be distracted by things that don't matter. And brother, I wasted a lot of time. I've wasted a lot of money. I've wasted a lot of my life really focusing on things that at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, don't really matter all that much. And I think it was chasing some type of mythical image of what success is or is not. And chasing an image that is not authentic, always being my authentic self. And maybe that's the long way of saying what I really mean. Being authentic to who you are and what you are at 21, if I had to understand what being authentic really meant, playing my game, my authentic swing, I think a number of different things would have changed. And asking a question like that, it sends my mind spinning, brother. But this life has been one hell of a life that I've lived, and I wouldn't change much, though.
Awesome. That's great advice, though. Be authentic, 100% yourself. I think that's great advice for all of my listeners. And so let everyone know how they can find you, how they can learn more information about the Russell Center.
Sure. Come check us out. The H.J. Russell Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. You can find us on the web at rcie.org. The Russell Center or Russell Center on IG, the Russell Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship on Facebook. Check me out, Jay Bailey on LinkedIn, J4 Hope on all kind of other IG platforms. That's me. What's up? Match the picture up. And no, man, I'd love to hear from you. If you got questions or anything else, shoot me a note.
Awesome. There it is, guys. Hope you enjoyed Jay Bailey. Please check him out. Check out the H.J. Russell Center and read the book Building Atlanta.
My man.
I know I'm gonna send you my info so I can read it.
My man. I'll make sure I send you one.
Alrighty. So there it is, guys. Peace.
All right. Take care.
And so this part of the episode is called the Visionary Minute, where I go over some key takeaways from the previous episode. And so during this episode, I learned so many valuable things, but I'll try to just keep it short and break it down into 3 major points. And so the first one, I don't think he mentioned it, but it's something that I took away from just all of his knowledge, and that is to learn your history, learn about the people that came before you. I feel like that will add purpose and kind of direction in your life. Number 2 is find a mentor. Number 3 is stay true to who you are. I know Jay said that when he stopped living based on service, that's when his life went downhill. But when he focused his life on service, that's when everything worked out for him. So I think if you just stay true to who you are, stay true to who that person was that was being raised by your parents, I think that that would be beneficial for you. And so this is the last episode of season 1. So I'm taking kind of a hiatus, so a 1 month break to really expand the podcast. I have a marketing strategy set up, and so me and my team are really just going to focus on executing that this summer. And we'll also be doing some speaking engagements and other things just to promote my book, The Positive Affirmation Guide. And if you haven't had a chance to check that out, please go to my website, visionarycj.com. And we'll be back around next month, maybe for episode 1 of season 2. And so please, during this time, if you can just go re-listen to any episodes that you've liked, or listen to any episodes that you've missed throughout the first season. And please give me feedback and reach out to me and just continue to grow. Peace.